Hello, colleagues. It's a real pleasure to connect. With you today, I want to share a project I've been dedicating time and effort to recently. Throughout my clinical experience, I've seen firsthand the excellence of Varian software. It's an incredibly robust system, however. As I started delving into its programming capabilities, I began asking myself some key questions. How can we optimize our workflows even further? How can we make the platform faster during the planning phase? Looking at our daily routine, I identified that generating rings and all the optimization structures is a highly systematic task. Because of its repetitive nature, it is the ideal process to be fully optimized and automated through a script. But I realized its potential was much greater. The goal became much more ambitious: to create a tool that wouldn't just stay in my clinic, but that would serve all hospitals, streamline the work for all medical physicists, and above all, successfully adapt to all pathologies and treatment schemes, whether sequential or simultaneous. Integrated Boost SIB. Building on this ambitious goal, I began translating my clinical needs into pure code. My first major challenge was developing an algorithm that would automatically scan the treatment plan and present a dynamic list of all structures of interest, whether organs at risk or therapeutic targets, right in a floating window. Texto predetermined. I implemented the logic to perform automated cuts of these structures, initially focusing on the identified PTVS. The most crucial part was making this tool intuitive. With a single click, the user can generate concentric optimization structures using a default 5 mm margin, while giving the medical physicist the complete flexibility to modify this value instantly to suit each specific case. In this way, I enabled the system to generate optimization target volumes (OTV) with just a few clicks, ensuring that the labeling of each new structure strictly adhered to the standardized nomenclature of the TG-263 protocol. To make the tool truly comprehensive, I structured the interface into dedicated columns for each dosimetric need, thus integrated a geometric expansion function to create planning risk volumes (PRV). Another focused on intersection operations to define overlap volumes (OVL). And finally, a Boolean cropping tool to subtract excess and yield a completely clean optimization PTV opt ready for calculation. I also couldn't leave out rings, which are crucial for shaping isodose curves and protecting organs at risk. The algorithm can generate up to 8 rings per PTV for sequential treatments, offering full control over the gap and thickness. However, in simultaneous integrated Boost SIB treatments, traditional rings fall short as they overlap with other dose levels. To solve this, the logic evolved into optimization donuts, taking into account the strict dose fall-off required between target volumes with different prescriptions. The system applies Boolean cropping to intelligently subtract internal or adjacent PTVS according to the achievable physical dose fall-off. This not only prevents overlapping but also enforces a perfect dose gradient, resulting in much sharper and highly precise drop-offs on the dose-volume histogram DVH. In this image, you can see a sagittal view of a treatment plan containing 3 tumor volumes that will receive different dose levels within the same treatment session. As shown, the system automatically generates an independent optimization donut for each PTV, preserving the prescribed dose hierarchy and preventing the optimization structures from interfering with one another. This approach provides much greater control over the optimization process, promoting more controlled dose gradients between the different prescription levels and achieving highly conformal dose distributions. As a result, healthy tissues receive less unnecessary radiation exposure, and the dose-volume histogram DVH exhibits much sharper and better defined transitions between each therapeutic target. Leaving behind the challenges of SIB, let's transition to one of the most frequent clinical scenarios in our department's breast treatments. When utilizing volumetric techniques such as VMAT in this region, we face a constant biomechanical challenge guaranteeing robust dose coverage in superficial tissues while compensating for respiratory motion and the inevitable daily uncertainties in positioning. The standard clinical response is to generate a virtual bolus or force the fluence outside the body contour, a technique commonly known as skin flash. However, constructing this extension is yet another mechanical and repetitive task. This is where the algorithm once again takes control. The script automates this process by copying the breast PTV and instantly projecting a new structure beyond the body contour. This strategic extension acts as an anchor for the optimizer, compelling it to project fluence into the air. The result is the creation of the necessary dose margin to ensure the breast maintains perfect coverage throughout the patient's entire respiratory cycle. Following the core philosophy of this development, automation does not replace professional judgment. It enhances it. Through the interface, the user retains absolute control. They can precisely define the extension distance beyond the skin and assign the required Hounsfield units for that volume, allowing the tool to seamlessly adapt to the specific clinical protocols of any center. Let's put the algorithm to the ultimate test. On screen, we have a complex prostate case featuring 3 target volumes PTVS that require different dose prescriptions simultaneously. In this clinical prostate case, we have 3 PTVS that will receive a simultaneously escalated dose. As you can see, the organs at risk have already been contoured. However, we have 5 completely empty optimization structures that the algorithm will automatically generate and populate. Now, let's execute our script to begin generating the optimization structures. The first step in the interface is to define the clinical modality, whether it is a sequential treatment or a simultaneous integrated boost SIB. Based on this selection, we specify the target PTVS to the system. Now, we will generate 3 levels of rings at 0.5, 1, and centimeters, but first we must input the prescription for each PTV. Now, we will generate the OTVS for the rectum, intestine, and bladder, since these are empty structures. Next, we will apply a 1 cm expansion margin to the penile bulb. Subsequently, we will calculate the intersections of the PTVS to generate the overlap volumes OVLs for the rectum and bladder. Finally, we will define our optimization PTVS. We will apply Boolean cuts between the target volumes in order to optimize each dose level independently. Specifically for the PTV68 opt, we will subtract the bladder volume using a negative margin of -3 mm. With all our configuration set, we simply click on Generate Structures. The system immediately displays a percentage progress indicator to monitor the process in real time. Upon completion, a summary box appears detailing the key metrics: manual configuration time, ESAPI engine processing time, and the total number of volumes created. Notice the level of efficiency. For this complex case, the code generated 18 structures in just 9.4 seconds. Next, we can review the 18 structures automatically generated by the ESAPI script. In this coronal and sagittal view, we can observe the optimization rings surrounding each PTV. Here we can visualize the organs at risk alongside the PTV, the rectum and bladder. Now, let's take a look at the OTVS generated by ESAPI, the rectum OTV and the bladder OTV. Further down, we can observe the penile bulb along with its 1 cm expansion margin corresponding to the PRV. Finally, I will demonstrate in 3D the structures automatically generated by the script for the PTVS with multiple dose levels. Optimization PTV 45G, PTV 50G, and PTV 68G. For each of these volumes, the algorithm introduces the creation of its corresponding optimization donut, a specific control structure for each prescribed dose 45G donut, 50G donut, and 68G donut. The architecture of these donuts is designed to isolate the optimization of each level. By being spatially exclusive with no overlap between them, the optimizer receives no contradictory instructions and can control the dose fall-off independently. This achieves much steeper dose gradients and greater conformity for each target volume, ensuring that the dose fall-off of one donut does not interfere with another. This is the current progress of my optimization structure generation project. Currently, the Medical Physics Department at Radioterapia Oncologia Marley actively uses it, and the impact on reducing planning times has been extraordinary. We have already surpassed 150 patients successfully planned with this tool. The code performs reliably, and the level of confidence is high. These results have motivated me to take the code to the next level with a second version that is already in development. This update will introduce a key step. It will intelligently detect structures that are adjacent to or overlapping with the PTV. The system will make the selection on its own to generate the OTVS and OVALs, making the workflow much more agile and freeing it from so many manual clicks. Alongside this update, I am developing a new project centered on standardizing clinical goals. Based on guidelines and recommendations from international organizations, this new tool will automatically configure the optimization objectives directly within Eclipse. My vision with all this is to take automation to the highest level, reducing the entire planning process to just a few clicks. Greatly appreciate the time you have taken to learn about this project and hear about these advances. I will continue working to take this automation to the next level. Thank you very much.